Hey guys, I'm Rachel O'Leary, and today we're down in the fish room because I got some mail, and I'm pretty excited about this. I already know what it is. This is what I lovingly refer to as a thick boy, which is a concrete vessel for making essentially like a super ultra mini nano pond to put on your house, your deck, your patio, and it's made by Studio Aquatica and was sent to me by my good friend Jack. Glad to finally be able to present you with your very own SA vessel, thick boy, see? I met Jack at the Aquatic Experience last year. I've used a lot of his substrate balls in my aquariums as well as in my wabi kusa, and I'm excited to get one of these vessels. There seems to be a pretty big gap in the market for American-made, really nice niche products, and I think it's really cool that Jack is paying attention to these details. He makes, as I mentioned, the substrate balls, but also sprayers, and I use them both extremely heavily on my plant wall upstairs. This is not sponsored. Jack is a friend of mine, full disclosure, but I saw this product at Aquatic Experience and was thirsting for it. Again, these are made in South Carolina. It is a thick boy. It is beefy. It says, don't bother trying to use soap or detergent should it get dirty. Do a light wet sanding with extra fine 320 grit sandpaper. And don't use hot water. But again, absolutely gorgeous. Now, it is designed to fit a couple of the little substrate balls. This is one that I had pre-soaked and has some moss on it. I'll probably utilize this, some gravel, maybe some pieces of hardscape. I went out to my greenhouse. If you're new here, I have a greenhouse where I grow a lot of vegetables as well as a lot of pond plants, and that's also where I overwinter all of my plants. And though it's only the very beginning of spring and it's early March here, everything's already growing a ton. So I just picked up some stuff I'd like to play with. I'm not even sure what half of it is. Each year I buy more and more stuff and label it, and then the labels wear off and whatever. So I thought that we would go ahead and play with this vessel today. Just have some fun. This social isolation thing really isn't that unusual for me as far as like my daily routine. However, it is very unusual that I have the feeling that I'm not allowed to leave. And my house is full of teenagers, so that is also very different. So I thought doing something that made me feel a bit more connected to nature might help my mood a bit, and maybe you guys would enjoy it and feel inspired. I know Jack has been doing a ton of sales. I think right now he's got a 20% off through tonight at studioaquatica.com. I'll make sure I put the links to all this stuff down in the comment section or in the description box. Again, no formal affiliation. I'm not getting paid to say this. I just think they're really high quality, really unique products that are worth it. I think the vessel costs about $40. And I think it's definitely worth it. It is super high quality. So let's get started making this thing. So I've gathered together some supplies. This is some Cereus stone or landscaping stone that were fragments that I glued together, gosh, years ago now, and I seem to move it from project to project. But it's just a nice small piece. I used to have it in my 2-gallon nano. I have some aquascaping tools. I have some forceps to be able to push and make holes into the substrate ball, some pinchers, some spring scissors, some regular scissors, and then these are the plants that I've grabbed already. I think one thing that's important to consider is if you're going to be making this for indoors use, light is very much a limiting factor. Most of these pond marginals that grow outside are used to being grown in direct full sun, and that can be difficult to duplicate inside. You could certainly use any number of aquarium plants. I'm simply trying these out because I have so much of them. And then I also grabbed some substrate that I have around from Brightwell. It's called Rio Cafe XF. It's just a nice fine grain substrate that'll be good for plant growth. I don't know if I'll use it or not, but I wanted to have it here in case I wanted it. I'm gonna start by just playing around and seeing what fits. I also have some small pieces of manzanita driftwood. I doubt that I'll use them, but you never know. I think I want to try and use this thing, but I do think I want to elevate it, so I probably will put some of that substrate in there just to give me some height. You wouldn't have to use this fancy substrate. Again, I just happen to have a lot of these things around, and the nice thing about a small vessel like this is that it's not very expensive to purchase materials for it when, you know, it's so tiny. Also because of its size, I probably wouldn't recommend keeping any livestock in here. Yeah, that's better. Have my substrate ball. I think this is some sort of Ludwigia that I grow outside. I'm honestly not entirely sure what it is, but I'm probably just going to stick it in the soil here. Let's see what fits where. I grabbed some of these rushes, which are one of my favorite marginals. I had this really cool variegated one. I thought was really pretty. And it gets pretty tall, so I'll probably put that in this back corner here with some, I don't remember what these are either. They're another like grassy type thing that get pretty tall. Might stick some of those back there. I grabbed some variegated water celery. I also grabbed some moneywort and some creeping jenny. I don't know if I'm going to use this substrate ball. I'm kind of enjoying just planting into. I'm going to lay some of these through the grooves in the rock. This is golden creeping jenny. I buy it at my local nursery. It's literally the kind for landscaping. It's nothing special. I also grabbed some azolla, which is a floating fern. I find that it really sort of goes on surfaces really well and acts almost like a ground cover in high humidity. And I've always wanted to play with it like this, so I'm just going to wedge it into some of these crevices, and that'll help maintain the humidity of the roots of those plants, and it should also eventually colonize. Now, this looks a bit of a hot mess right now, but I think in time it should do really well. So I just filled it up with some water. You can see a lot of the plants have to reorient themselves to their new positioning. But I think it came out pretty cute. I will be sure to keep you guys updated on this. But again, it's super fun, super quick, super easy, super cheap project to do. And I will move it up onto my plant stand in my living room under my sunlight bulbs so that it will have the best chance on growing in. As always, thank you guys for your continued support. Hope you enjoyed this. I know I had fun doing it, and thank you so much, Jack, for sharing a thick boy with me.
Now, all of these plants are ones that I've purchased at my local nursery over the years. And again, I do overwinter all of them in my greenhouse. You could certainly treat them as houseplants as well, as long as you have enough light. For me, though, making little container gardens like this is super rewarding. I could even move this out onto my deck table where we spend a lot of time in the summer, or continue to house it indoors. It just makes a nice little feature piece. I really enjoy making stuff like this, and I can't wait to see it grow in. It has a lot of cool textures and colors, and I think now that it's in its final resting place, it's going to grow really well. So make sure you subscribe with that notification bell on so you don't miss updates about this and all my other projects.